Chaos awaits. Welcome one, welcome all. This is What the Hell Did I Just Watch? Episode 34. I am, of course, your host, Oscar Riedlin. We have returned, and upon this very episode we are going to talk about wrestling. Yes, indeed. I hope each and every one of you legendary epic souls is having fun, rocking it wild, doing your thing, flowing freely in this here new year. Yes, indeed. It is amazing. It is awesome. It is totally epic. We are back and we are ready to bring that mayhem yet again. As I've said, mayhem awaits one, mayhem awaits all. Now on this very episode 34, we are going to be talking about wrestling. Yes, indeed, this very year, as many of you may know, the WWE have begun their Netflix era, and it has been amazing. A hellfire of a start, just knocking everything out of the park, rocking it epically wild, and they've just been casting it absolutely amazing. I mean, it has been epically beautiful. We won't specifically talk about the WWE. We will at one point. We may rock it wild yet again on another episode and specifically talk about the WWE. But we're going to talk about wrestling. But the WWE is fire. The WWE is bringing that mayhem. But we also have to mention TNA, NXT, AEW if you wish. You know, there's all those wrestling crafts and creations out there that we've all grown up with. And of course we can mention the WCW and the WWF because we all grew up with the WWF, which also became the WWE because my damn, but wrestling back in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s was hellfire, of course. What a craft, what a creation. I could not believe it. I mean, I've been watching wrestling, I think, since the 70s. Holy hell, it's been so long. I've been watching wrestling for so long. I have been a super fan for as long as I can remember. Like, wrestling has been my entire life. I love wrestling. I used to wrestle, believe it or not. Yes, I used to be a wrestler. There's a few clips that exist out there of me wrestling, believe it or not. That is how much I love wrestling. And of course, I do not miss a show. I mean, there was a moment in my life where things twisted and, you know, rocked in other directions, where for a few years I missed out on the modern stuff. I mean, it was like during sort of, you know, the lockdown era, you know, after in sort of, yeah, around that time, yeah. So it's like it was a wild time for all of us, and I missed a lot of stuff there. Because of life reasons, but I got back into it as quickly as I could, and I never ever stopped watching the old stuff because I have quite a wrestling collection of various pay-per-views, live tours from around the world, shows, best of, all this, that and the other. I've got TNA, I've got WWE, I've got quite a few independent wrestling companies that exist around this world here in, you know, the US, the UK, all that kind of stuff. It is beautiful. Any form of wrestling, get me involved. So yeah, we're going to talk about wrestling, and of course, as I mentioned, the WWE, the Netflix era is on fire, rocking it epically wild. I was there live for their opening show. I watched the debut, show number 1 on Netflix, and it was absolutely amazing. It was it was unforgettable. They did everything. It was absolutely fantastic, and I could not believe it. And of course, they had the legends there. They had so many legends there. They've had so many legends there since they rocked it wild. I've seen the likes of Mark Henry, RVD, Trish Stratus, Michelle McCool, Mickey James, Mick Foley, Jerry the King Lawler. Holy hell! They've had so many legends there since day number one. And of course, when the Rumble hit, when the 2025 Royal Rumble hit, I was hoping, because they were at ringside, they would make their return. Mark Henry was at ringside for the Royal Rumble. RVD was at ringside for the Royal Rumble. Jerry the King Lawler was at ringside for the Royal Rumble. And of course, Booker T. King Booker was at ringside. And I was hoping that at least one of them, as the clock ticked down and the buzzer made the sound, their music would play. But sadly not. But the thing is, Trish Stratus made her appearance, made her return in the 2025 Women's Royal Rumble match, and that was epically insane. Holy hell. It is beautiful. It is bliss. And I could not believe, I was hoping that Stratisfaction would run epically wild and capture that victory, that Stratisfaction would win the Royal Rumble match. That is what I hoped, that is what I wished for, but sadly it was not meant to be. But the winner of the 2025 Royal Rumble was, of course, the Queen herself, Charlotte Flair. Woo! You get the idea with that. But yeah, she rocked it well. She came back. She did very, very well. She came back after injury, as she believed that her career was set to rest. But she returned, and it was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely fantastic. The Royal Rumble is a hellfire of an event, and if I remember correctly, it was... I'm probably going to get this wrong, aren't I? It was done by Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson, the creator and the craft of the Royal Rumble. I'm probably wrong, aren't I? I mean, I know the origin story. I should know this. Because I know the winners of quite many Royal Rumbles. I know that the first ever Royal Rumble winner was the Hacksaw Jim Duggan, rocking it wild, making their debut of the Royal Rumble, winning it first. No one can ever take that away from him. And I think Jim Duggan was at ringside, wasn't he? The first ever. So maybe he could have made a return. That would have been absolutely awesome. But yeah, and there are many forms of this Hero Rumble. Like I said, I watch quite a lot, and I possess quite a lot of independent wrestling companies that exist around the UK and America and beyond, and they do their own versions of the Royal Rumble. They do their own versions of these types of matches, and it's absolutely amazing. Of course, they've got their own style championships, like the Casino Royale World Heavyweight Champion, or the Best of Britain Champion. I don't know. I'm just sort of making these up, but they do have their own, and they a lot of them are indeed works of art. Like, they're fantastic. Like, TNA have had some interesting belts over the years. WWE have had some very interesting belts over the years. They still do now. Like, I'm getting a lot of people saying that some belts look like pepperonis, and some belts look what is that? And I mean, it was absolutely amazing and beautiful, and I wish they'd have kept that going when Kevin Owens rocking it wild with the Winged Eagle Championship, because that had not been seen on TV for quite some time, and it was good that it was back. Holy hell, I missed that. It was bringing back some memories. It was bringing back some moments like you know, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania, and Bret the Hitman Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and you know, oh, it was really good. I wish they'd have kept that rocking wild, rocking strong. But of course, spoiler alert, when Cody won the championship match, the unified World Heavyweight Championship match at the Royal Rumble 2025 against KO Kevin Owens by superbly, holy hell, Alabama slamming him through a bridged ladder, bam, straight through. KO folded like a pretzel inside out, and then that gave Cody the chance to climb the ladder and regain both championships. But Sami Zayn was present. He was there checking on his best friend KO Kevin Owens. Not anymore. And we thought, wait a minute, will Zayn get involved? Will Zayn stop Cody from gathering the championships? But he did not. He was there by KO Kevin Owens' side all the time, making sure he was safe, making sure he was secure, making sure all was well and all was bliss. And it was absolutely amazing, and that was one hell of a match. And if you've not seen WWE 2025 Royal Rumble, get that watched immediately. There was only four matches. It was the opening, the Women's Royal Rumble. Then after that, the Tag Team Championship match, 2 out of 3 falls are DIY. Here we go, versing the legendary TNA Motor City Machine Guns. Yes, the legendary Motor City Machine Guns are now in the WWE. I mean, they have been for quite some time, but they are there rocking it wild, keeping it insane. Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley bringing their mayhem and high-flying bliss. Holy hell, it is beautiful. It is insane. Check it out. But yeah, it is interesting. And of course, after that, there was the Unified World Heavyweight Championship. Kevin Owens, KO Owens versus the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, which of course I just told you, and then I did say spoiler alert, so hopefully you muted or you froze time and skipped ahead. We pray, I do apologise. And then, of course, the men's Royal Rumble match. But if you're a legendary wrestling fan, if you love your wrestling, I know, you have seen the WWE 2025 Royal Rumble by now. Surely you have, because if you haven't, then you're missing out. If you haven't, get it in your eyes, get it in your soul, get it in your brain, because it needs to be so. And of course, it is beautiful, it is bliss. And like I said, because there are so many kick-ass independent wrestling companies out there, there are so many forms and transformations of the WWE Royal Rumble match or the Royal Rumble match. And as well, there's so many forms of wrestling matches. Like, I used to wrestle for an independent wrestling company. It was amazing. Some of the matches we did were insane, were crazy, were freaky. I mean, a lot of them were sort of the OG classic rocking wild wrestling matches, like your one-on-one, your tag team match, your triple threat, your fatal four-way, that kind of stuff. But then there was also weird matches that they had. I mean, Wrestling is insane. Wrestling's off the chain. I mean, if you know that over the years, a lot of independent wrestling companies have had like death matches, like, you know, buried alive matches, like really buried alive matches. And if you've ever watched, right? I'm coming in close now. I'm coming in close because this is intense. If you've ever watched backyard wrestling, that was big in the late 80s and the 90s, or perhaps the 90s and the early 2000s, because there are quite a few DVDs I do not own any of them. I have tried, but they are quite rare and expensive to get hold of. But you can get the best of the backyard wrestling. You can get backyard wrestling. Oh my damn. The legends of backyard wrestling that kept rocking wild, that took those bumps, that swanton bombed through like 200 luminescent light bulb tubes onto their opponent, jumping sky high like Mick Foley, making himself famous, making himself known as he did that Shawn Michaels like elbow from the top of the garage, like 30 foot high through a table, but the guy that was on the table moved and Mick Foley crashed and burned, as they said. And of course, many years later, The Undertaker steps into the ring with Mick Foley, and Mick Foley is thrown from that high, that 25, 30 foot high steel cage through the announce table. He is out, he is done. Oh hell no, he is not. Just a few moments pass and Mick Foley said, "You," and walks out of the back, staring down the dead man as he walks down the ramp. That kind of energy, that kind of craft and creation is what you get from the backyard wrestling, and that is where one of the best, one of the toughest, one of the legendary hardcore wrestlers was born. I mean, I can bring it back all the way to ECW because we gathered some hardcore wrestlers, legends from ECW. You've got RVD, you've got Terry Funk, the legend. You've got Tommy Dreamer, one of my all-time favourites. I wish they'd done so much more with Tommy Dreamer when he came over to the WWE and I guess the ECW version of WWE, because of course WWE sort of bought ECW back in the day and they did their own version of ECW, did WWE, but of course they didn't really know what they were doing because you couldn't really call it hardcore because it was like, oh yeah, here's the ECW championship, we're going to defend it in a normal match. Okay? Like I never understood that because you take the ECW World Heavyweight Championship and they defended it on ECW, the proper Hellfire ECW. The standard match, there was no rules. There was no padding. I mean, I know it wasn't Falls Count anyway. Pins had to take place in the ring, unless it was a Falls Count anyway. But mostly pins had to take place in the ring. But there was no rules. Chairs, ladders, tables, flaming tables, barbed wire baseball bats, thumbtacks. It was all allowed. And that was a standard ECW match. But then when ECW was bought by WWE and they brought... I mean, I did enjoy it because it was fun, it was amazing, it was hell to the S, but it was like the ECW World Heavyweight Championship is on the line, let's defend it in a singles, one-on-one, Hellfire, yes, standard rules. What you mean standard? No, just standard rules, just you know, like, oh look, he's in a submission, he's holding the ropes, the referee's counting, like, he's being hit by a steel chair, he's disqualified, you know, like, I never understood that, but yeah, ECW did craft and create some epic hardcore legends. I mean, of course, RVD, one of a kind, Hellfire to the yes, indeed. That was beautiful, that was bliss. I know a lot of them came over to WWE and they rocked it epically wild. I wish they'd done a hell of a lot more. I mean, I was a big fan of Kane and RVD as a tag team. I wish they'd not broken that up because they were absolutely awesome. One of my all-time favourite tag teams. I mean, I did love Hell No because they were a hellfire of a tag team as well. They were beautiful, they were bliss. And they were absolutely amazing. I did love that. It was yes indeed. So yeah, and there's so much more So much more we can talk about. The wrestling knowledge goes on. The wrestling mayhem goes on. And of course, we will talk more about wrestling because there's so much more I can tell you. As I've said, independent wrestling superfan here, and of course wrestling superfan, been rocking wild with wrestling since about the 70s, may even be the 60s if I remember correctly. I think the oldest piece of wrestling history I watched was, I think, from 1957, I think. Oh, no. Was it 1927? So, watching wrestling since 1927, holy hell! But mainly sort of jumping in to wrestling in the 70s because, you know, I watched the 1927 sort of piece later on. But I began with wrestling in the maybe the late 60s, 70s, because we remember the Von Erichs, we remember Ric Flair, the absolute legend, holy hell, indeed, never forget, woo, we remember them all. And of course, if you've never seen Iron Claw, get Iron Claw watched, because that is a hellfire of a wrestling movie. Oh my damn, the story has to be told, emanating it out, rocking it epically wild. Oh, it is beautiful, it is bliss. And of course, this has been What the Hell Did I Just Watch? I have been your host, Oscar Riedlin. Chaos does thou await. And we will return with episode 35, rocking wild, keeping it crazy. And of course, upon episode 35, we will talk more, so much more, about wrestling, mayhem, madness, and chaos runs wild, because we are wrestling superfans and we love thou our wrestling. Speak it loud, speak it proud, let your voice be heard. If you do thou wish, let me know how you feel, emanate it out into the world. Leave a comment down below, tell me about wrestling, tell me how you feel about wrestling. Let me know if you're a super wrestling fan indeed, because I wish to do that. Wrestling communities together, rocking it wild, and hopefully, you never know, you might find another soul as crazy as me, or as liking wrestling as much as me or you, because I love my wrestling. Hell to the S, maybe a bit too much, as people say, but you can never love anything too much. If it makes you feel good, if it makes you happy, and it puts a smile upon your face, then you do you always. Damn true. Maybe I should have began this very episode and said, hey, let me talk to you, yeah, because we all know a bit of that. But yes, I have been talking to you, and I will be talking to you yet again about wrestling, because we do love our wrestling, all of the wrestling. This has been What the Hell Did I Just Watch, episode 34. We will be back with episode 35, more wrestling talk and business and super fanness to follow. Thank you kindly if you've joined us on this very episode to chin wag about wrestling. Your thoughts, feelings and opinions do so truly matter. So as I've said, speak it loud, speak it proud, leave a comment down below, because you have a voice, of course you do, and it truly matters. I wish most definitely to know how you feel about wrestling, what's flowing through your head. Share that love, share that care, rock it wild, and cast your magic, because it is the best way to be. I'll see you on the very next episode of What the Hell Did I Just Watch. Remember, chaos always away.